So hi everyone, Steve here from Leaf, very excited to be here and want to introduce you to Joe Stevens, the co-founder of OS Barbers, who's joining us today to tell us a bit more about himself, about the brand that he set up and co-founded, and to give us an insight into his past, a bit more about what's happening now, and also kind of a look into the future for him and his team. Joe, I think, has got an amazing brand, and it kind of really resonates with us at Leaf. And we were really excited. Joe reached out to us recently and kind of started and just like with a hi and a conversation. And we had a call, and we just thought really highly of Joe. So we wanted to invite him along for an interview and kind of learn a bit more. And I'm sure there'll be loads of insights which would be amazing for all of our followers on Leaf. So Joe, it's great to have you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much. Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. So how's everything going? How are things now? Tell us how you're getting on in this kind of period of time that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's definitely been up and down for sure. It's been very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned a lot probably about myself and about kind of our team and the business. And it's been interesting.
Tell me, what do you think you've learned about yourself, first of all? What would you say you've learned about yourself?
I feel like we learn quite a lot about ourselves in adverse situations.
Definitely.
And I probably feel like I've learned more in the last year than I have in the last 5. I think just because obviously it has been very unpredictable and really uncertain.
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of kind of control that we all look for, and that hasn't been there.
No.
So like the only thing that we can control is ourselves. So that's kind of been that's been quite an interesting sort of journey for me personally.
Yeah, I get that. It kind of it's encouraged yourself. I completely agree with you on that. And I think it's encouraged us all to kind of look inwardly a lot more and kind of
for sure, yeah.
Which is quite a scary thing to do, right? I think it's like, oh my God, I'm like, yeah, like
no one wants to face their demons, right?
No, exactly. And you're kind of analyzing yourself and discovering a lot about yourself. But it's a powerful thing. Like it can be an unbelievably positive thing in this adverse time we find ourselves in if we let it, can't it?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
Tell me a bit more about what you've kind of done to keep yourself entertained and active during this time.
So I'm big on routine. So I've just made sure that I'm kind of keeping as busy as possible.
Yeah.
Even like little things like having a daily checklist. Even if that's just having a shower, at least I'm ticking one thing off, you know. So,
yeah.
I think just having that sort of every day, just kind of getting back to the list and trying to just maintain a kind of level of productivity.
And achievement, like feeling like you've got boxes in the day. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's like the beauty of a checklist, because even though it could be really small things, you still feel like you're getting something done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But from a business point of view, it's been really interesting actually, because we've actually I'd say it's definitely tested us in terms of like adaptability.
Okay.
There's like we've actually made quite a big shift from how we were working before the first lockdown.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I think that's been interesting actually, kind of looking at the business, looking at ways we can improve it and things that we can sort of stop doing and start doing, and just being a bit more flexible in like the way we think about our brand.
Okay, and so can you give me some insights into kind of things which you've been more kind of agile and flexible about?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest one would be bookings.
Okay, yeah.
So prior to the first lockdown, we were just walk-in only.
Yeah.
And then we actually started working with Booksy, and we brought in an electronic booking system.
Yeah.
And that was something that we were all quite, I think, just unsure of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you get. That's it. It's a big change, and like no one likes change, right?
No.
I think, we were just very kind of like unsure, and we decided to give it a go, and it actually turned out to be probably one of the best things that's happened to us as a business.
Okay. And what were the positive change? I mean, I can already think of some of the positive changes you would have seen, but tell me what made it such a positive thing for your business?
I think just accessibility, like the sort of the service is just streamlined for the customers.
Yeah.
There was definitely a demand for it. Like, a lot of our customers were kind of asking, were we ever going to bring it in?
Yeah.
But I think just you have a lot more control over sort of your column.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also you're giving people don't really like to wait and you're kind of giving them more options. They can just come in, they don't need to wait, they're just straight in, and it just makes the service way more streamlined and way more effective.
And the big thing I always think, I was speaking to somebody else recently who's got like a barber chain, and the big thing from moving from walk-in to booking, and I think they did a bit of booking before, but now they're kind of exclusively only booking, is the kind of data and the forecasting ability that they've got to see, okay, we know, and I think this created confidence for them that they go, okay, well, we know for the next month that we've got X amount of revenue in the system.
Yeah.
And we can also see kind of the frequency of visit much more clearly because we're utilizing the data that we get through from having this kind of booking system now. Now, I could see when I was speaking to them about it, I could see this reassurance that came from that for them to go, okay, well, we can cash flow this much better now as a business because there's a level of certainty around how many numbers we're going to have through the door. And I was like, oh, that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a really good way of like for tracking your growth. Yeah. You've got like a product system in there as well. It's sort of putting everything in one place. You do your holidays from there. Yeah, it just makes life a lot easier and sort of just modernizing.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a reason why a lot of people go down that route.
Yeah, of course.
And now we're one of them. So
yeah, well done. It's a big shift there. Like you have to take everybody along on that journey from one place to another, right? Which is when you're moving a big team of people across as well, it can be it's not always the easiest thing to do, right?
No, definitely. And there's always going to be mistakes, but I feel like we've ironed out all the mistakes now, so it's running really well.
Good for you. And tell me, like on a more personal level, but with business in mind as well, I guess. What have you learned about yourself in this lockdown, and what have you reflected on, and what have you thought about? Kind of what have been the kind of key things that you've reflected on?
I think definitely just using this opportunity to learn a lot more about sort of, I think like leadership is a big one.
Yeah.
Things like brand identity and kind of goal setting, and just looking at, like I said before, just kind of looking at the business and then looking at myself and how I can kind of improve the business. I feel like sometimes the more you learn about yourself and more about the kind of people, then the bigger impact you have as a leader.
100%. Do you
so
feel?
Yeah,
Go on, Joe. Sorry, after you. Go on.
No, I was going to say. So yeah, I've just been really weirdly. I've been reading quite a lot of philosophy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's something I never really read at school, or and I didn't study it, but I just felt this is a good time, a lot of time to think, and ponder.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, like weirdly enough, I feel like philosophy and business sort of run parallel to each other.
100%, yeah.
In the kind of never stop questioning and looking at things from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was kind of I was quite surprised at that, actually. I never really thought I'd sit down and start reading like, into people like Aristotle and stuff. It's been helpful, I think.
And I think the real distinction is leadership and philosophy go really closely as well, right? They go hand in hand.
So, yeah.
Because it's like a broader understanding of the world that we're in and the people that live in it. I think it's need to examine more. And in regards to leadership, what kind of key steps have you taken during this time to ensure that your leadership, which I'm sure is, you wouldn't have grown to where you are now without it being amazing anyway, but what steps have you taken to improve from a leadership perspective in your business?
I think again, just sort of looking at people that I respect and admire through the industry and sort of in other industries, and kind of taking bits and pieces from there. And also just kind of, I think we touched on it earlier, just about sort of making people feel valued.
Yeah.
And making people feel like they can kind of come to you with ideas, and I'm being approachable, and sort of creating that space where you can have honest and open conversations about strengths and weaknesses, and kind of putting yourself in a position where you're there to help. I think that's something that is kind of overlooked, and really we're trying to get the best out of each other and the best out of our teams. And I think that's something that we've kind of been working on, is just being quite open and honest.
Yeah.
About that side of things, and with ourselves as well, kind of recognizing our own strengths and weaknesses, and then almost kind of talking about that, and it kind of makes you a bit more relatable, I think, and easier to
Yeah.
easier to approach when things, when someone might want to talk about something, they know they're not going to get bashed down.
I think I really like that actually. Thanks for sharing that. And I think a big part of this for a lot of people was, and especially as a leader, you sometimes have to be the one that's kind of there, with your armor on, like looking strong and like, leading the team forward. But I think this entire situation has allowed us all to be a bit more vulnerable and a bit more kind of willing to take the armor off, I guess, for one of a better analogy. But like the willingness to kind of be our true selves and go, well, yeah, like, you know what, there's some things which I'm finding really hard. So you don't have to be impenetrable, you can. And actually, I think if you are vulnerable, people relate much better and kind of come together much stronger, I think.
I think so. Yeah. I think that resonates with me. I think, especially with COVID, I think you can't just put a band-aid over it and be like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry, we'll be back at work in 2 weeks, because no one really knows.
Yeah.
But I think if you kind of put your hands up and say, like, look, guys, like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this is what we're going to do to make sure that we, have the right tools to kind of deal with it or stay busy, or you're kind of putting your hands up and kind of like, no one knows everything, right? So you kind of sometimes it's just helpful to be like, look, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this is what we can do in the meantime to kind of just stay focused.
I reread, it came up in my inbox, and an email I'd sent to one of my salon clients back in, it's like the 22nd of February. And I wrote something like, do we need to be aware of this COVID scenario over in China? Like, should we be making any plans? And then afterwards, I'd kind of answered my own question saying, I'm sure it's nothing for us to worry about. Should we talk about it in 2 weeks' time, right? And I reread that the other day and I thought, God, like the difference now in kind of, in my mind, in terms of how receptive I'd be to something coming that I'm unaware of. Whereas before I was just like, it won't affect us. The status quo will maintain. And it's it just awareness that the status quo won't necessarily always maintain, I think is good for everybody to have experienced that, I feel.
I think so, yeah. I think there's a lot in that, isn't it? I think even when people come to you for an answer, if you don't have the answer, you don't have to give it straight away. You can be like, look, I don't actually know the answer, but give me a few days and I'll get back to you. Making up trying to blag your way through.
Yeah. I once got told, and it was, I think, bad advice as a leader, but maybe good advice as a hairdresser, although I'm skeptical to that. But somebody once said to me that you should fake it until you make it. And I took that as an 18-year-old guy being told that when I was a hairdresser. I was just like, yeah, that can really serve me well, actually. That can. And I think it did in certain aspects. But now I'm like, there's no way I'd let that be part of my kind of my being now, because I'd rather
keep faking it.
I'd rather just go, I've got no clue. I've got no clue how to help. So we're going to have to work it out together, or I'm going to have to find someone who knows what to do. And I think that honesty is much better with people, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, I think like maybe with confidence, fake it until you make it. But yeah, I think there's a time that you can only do that so long until you get found out, right?
Of course, yeah, then someone goes, this guy's making it up as he goes along.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to learn a bit more about kind of the past and about your brand and about your company. So tell me a bit more about your company and how it's grown to where you are now.
Okay, cool. So I met my business partner, George, at school when we were 16.
Oh, wow.
So we've known each other for a long time. Yeah. So, and we left school and we went, actually, I think he went into hairdressing and I sort of decided to follow him. I was like, go for that. It looks quite interesting. Yeah. And then we did that for a few years, and then we sort of both transitioned over to barbering, and then we actually moved in together in Brighton in 2014, and that was when we set up the first store.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and then from there, really, it just sort of, we've grown pretty organically.
Yeah.
We're very much like behind the kind of long game sort of idea of just kind of doing things at our own pace and making sure that we're not growing too quickly.
Yeah. Good.
And then we opened up our third store with Alex, and he was our manager in the first store that we opened in 2014. So we're sort of like, again, kind of going back to that, sort of just creating opportunities within the company. And we want people to feel a part of it and a part of our growth.
Yeah.
because it's not just me and George, it's all of us, you know.
Yeah. Amazing.
And that's a kind of a testament to someone who's sort of started as a manager and then actually done a shop with us.
Yeah. And so there's like a culture of growth and togetherness as well, right? It sounds amazing.
For sure, yeah. I think we've actually done a lot of work on our company culture and making it that sort of really approachable and just really about the people and really about the team.
Yeah. And what made you choose to, I think it's obvious, I say obviously, but plenty of companies don't do it, but what made you focus on culture so much? And was that something you focused on from the beginning, or is it something that you realized needed focus?
No, I think it's something that we realized needed focus for sure. I think the first few years were just finding our feet, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But I think sometimes just looking at aspects, sometimes even looking at aspects from the corporate world and taking bits and pieces of that, because there's obviously a reason they do it.
Yeah.
And like, I think learning a bit more about like sort of how bigger companies operate, I think it made us think, oh, actually, there's a lot we can learn from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, just going back to that original point, it's just, working, we're not just sort of like, you know, telling people what to do. We want people to have that input. And I think like the more we learned about it and the more we kind of put that into our business, and we saw a lot of results.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that kind of fuels your ambition when you see those results as well then, right?
For sure, yeah. I think so, yeah. It's like a snowball effect, you know.
Yeah.
I think like once you're able to motivate people and see positive outcomes, then it can be really sort of rewarding.
Very rewarding.
Yeah.
So tell me, you've got the free spaces now, the free shops now. Where are they?
So we've got 2 in Brighton and 1 in London, in Chelsea.
Cool. And so was it the 2 in Brighton, then the 1 in Chelsea? Was that the kind of roadmap that you had? Or
so we did the first one in Brighton in Kent Town, then we did Chelsea, and then we did Brighton.
Oh, okay.
So our first Brighton store we were so busy that we had to either expand into a bigger shop or open another one.
Yeah, amazing.
That's what we did.
Right. And so, I mean, I'm intrigued by the kind of jump from Brighton to Chelsea as well. It's I would imagine it's a bold and scary move to go from one city where you're established to opening in a new one where you may not have the kind of same. I suppose the brand is present, but maybe not as present. What fueled you guys to go to Chelsea? What was it that kind of drew you to London from Brighton?
I think we always knew that we wanted to have a shop in London.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of our goals, and the opportunity just sort of came up.
Oh, okay.
And it was fast. We were like, we got really lucky, and it was a really good opportunity. So we just decided to go for it and kind of commit. But it's definitely quite difficult because, you know, Brighton and especially Chelsea are quite different demographics.
Yeah.
So again, it kind of made us think about like kind of how we are perceived as a brand.
Yeah, and I would imagine move your brand in. It would have changed the direction of the brand slightly, I would imagine, although your values and core would remain the same. Do you think it changed the direction of your brand in any way?
I'd say it definitely had an influence on the brand.
Yeah.
I think just because of the nature of Chelsea, obviously it's you have to, in terms of service, like the service has to be the best.
Yeah.
Otherwise you get found out very quickly.
Okay.
So I think in a way it was actually really beneficial for us. I think we learned a lot from moving to an area that had slightly more high-end demographic.
Okay. Yeah.
It just meant that we were it just kind of motivated us to sort of keep pushing to sort of get the best service possible.
Yeah. And how important is from a business perspective and from a day-to-day running of your salon's perspective, how vital is excellent service to you guys?
It's everything.
Yeah,
I'd say it's one of many things we're always looking to improve on.
Yeah,
and I'd say that it is. I'd say it's easily one of the most important things about like what we do.
Yeah.
I think like we've worked on it a lot, and like from that moment that customer steps into the door to the moment they leave, everything has to be right.
Yeah, 100%. I get that.
So it's a really big focus point for us.
And that consistency is key in that as well. And as you grow and more people join the kind of the community that you're creating and the team you're creating, the importance of keeping that consistency is so important, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like that sort of boils down to kind of like in-house education and making sure that everyone's on the same page,
Yeah,
and almost having I think just having almost a script that people stick to. We know within reason,
yeah,
rather than it being robotic, but everyone knows exactly what to do as soon as the customer comes in. Because what we make a big point of is that, you know, sometimes when you walk into a restaurant or like a barbershop or a hairdresser, it's like you can feel a little bit. It can be quite a nerve-wracking experience for someone.
yeah, definitely. I always think that we walk into kind of us as hairdressers or barbers, we walk into those environments with so much confidence and feeling so comfortable, right? And I know when I speak to my friends, and all of whom I think I'd describe them as like relatively confident people, right? But
Yeah,
they are so intimidated by that kind of step into this world that they're not always part of. And I remember my mates saying, I remember when this goes back to when I was an apprentice, which was like in the Victorian times or something. It was a long time ago.
yeah,
I worked in the salon and my friends wouldn't come inside. They wouldn't come in. They'd wait outside it could be snowing or raining. And I'm like, just come and like have a beer or coffee and sit in.
yeah.
Like, I can't. I feel intimidated. They were intimidated by it. And I
No, I
always
get that.
I always remember that because I think, God, like we're so comfortable in those environments, and service is the thing that kind of gets past that for them, isn't it? You know, if the service is warm and welcoming, and it to an exceptional level, I think it becomes a lot easier for them to feel comfortable there. So
I think so. And I think when you're entering someone else's space, like you need to be sort of showing where to go. Like, you know, sometimes if you walk into a restaurant or a bar and no one greets you, just sort of like, well, what do I do?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, do I go to the bar or do I sit down? It's like
yeah,
you do need to be shown, like, you know, hello sir, like take
yeah,
a seat, or you know,
yeah,
I think it's a big part of it, and it automatically sort of you're sort of making people feel comfortable from the word go,
yeah.
and that sets a really good precedent for the rest of the service, you know.
Absolutely. I've got an interesting question to ask about. So you did you and George train as hairdressers and then move over into barbering? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was it that drew you to the kind of the barbering or men's grooming world? What was it that excited you about that aspect of our industry?
I think it's just like I think definitely like the sort of more like the kind of I guess like the fashion was like a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I think just a bit, I guess, a new challenge and just trying something new.
Yeah.
And I personally, like, whenever I was a hairdresser, like, my favorite clients were, I feel like the men were definitely with their hair was like my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was like, it was just a smooth transition for me. I really enjoyed it, and kind of almost like I had to retrain to an extent.
Yeah. Like it's like
become a lot of
craft, isn't it, as well? And was it 2014 was when you took the step across? Did you say, is that right, or when you opened?
It was earlier, yeah. So I think it was around 2009 that we took the step across, and then we opened.
And it started
4 or 5 years after that.
That was the point where it was becoming a much more kind of it was growing as an industry massively in that was his real kind of key growth point as well. So it was an exciting place,
sure.
I think, as well, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think like, yeah, there was loads of opportunity like there is now. But yeah, I think people were just starting to sort of show a bit more of an interest at that time.
Yeah,
good. It was a good time to do it. And as me and George already had the sort of hairdressing experience, and we took a lot of the service aspect from hairdressers, so obviously we could then apply to the barbering side of things.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key. I've seen people that I've seen kind of go from the hairdressing world to the men's world. I think if they carry that service level that they're used to providing across, it tends to bode well for them, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. What advice would you give to people who want to start their own business? And I think not necessarily just specifically in the barbering world, but if it is, that's super interesting as well, I think.
I'd say my advice would be doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like, you know, follow your passion, don't follow the money.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like if you're looking for, you know, just a quick way to make money, probably starting your business isn't necessarily the best way.
Yeah.
And also just having your why, like why are you doing it, why are you getting into it?
Yeah.
And I'd say probably just try and learn as much as you can from other people.
Yeah,
You know, people who have done it, people who are 5 to 10 years ahead of you, and people who have made the mistakes so you don't have to.
yeah, 100%.
And yeah, just I'd say just trying to talk to as many people as possible about the industry that you're thinking of going into.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I love that. And I think if there's that strong reason why behind it, for me, that is one of the key differentiators between people that are successful or not, because you need that motivation. You need the why. I think as
you
an
do, yeah.
or as a team of leaders, you need to, you need to jump out of bed every morning with a mission, I think, for it to be successful. And
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like a long-term goal that you're
try,
working towards.
if it's just for money, then there's other ways to do that, I think, isn't there, really?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a lot of work to get a business off the ground, so you kind of have to
Yeah,
be ready for the commitment.
yeah, definitely. And I'm really interested to hear about the future for you and for your company as well. So what does the future hold for you and for OS Barbers as well?
So it's a really exciting time actually at the moment. We've made a pledge to become a sustainable company by next year.
Amazing.
And we're also launching a product. So we're launching a natural shampoo bar.
Oh, amazing. Cool.
Yeah, so got that in the pipeline, and just like more kind of just looking at different ways we can, always looking to improve and looking at ways we can grow and expand on the brand.
Yeah. And I mean, I love both of those. All three of those things you've just said about kind of continual growth. I love the idea of a kind of a shampoo bar. That sounds really cool. Wish I had some.
Yeah.
And
I'll send you a free one.
Well, I have to use it on my non-existent beard.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Take my beard off and I feel completely naked without it. It's so weird. So I'll grow that back and then give it a try. And then
a double shave, it can be
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. And then this kind of mission to become more sustainable or to be a sustainable brand. Tell me a bit more about what's kind of driven that for you.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of come out of, it's something that we've always spoken about doing. But this last year has given us the time to really kind of commit to it and explore the idea of becoming sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I think as any size company, we have social responsibility.
Yeah.
To make sure that we are having as little impact on the environment as we can. So that kind of came about through the time that we've had off, and our aim is just to sort of be really transparent about the journey.
Yeah.
Because we're learning a lot about sustainability and what it even means to be a sustainable business.
Yeah.
So our idea is that we sort of learn ourselves, but also educate other people while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of a minefield once you start kind of learning about it, as you know.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's kind of,
I love the idea of the transparency around it, because I think it can be, I don't want to say infectious because it's not a nice word, is it? But I think you can be influential on others and then them go on a sustainable journey if they've seen somebody kind of already take the steps, right? And I think we as an industry, we have to do more. Like, we have to. And I think regardless of how big or small somebody's business is, we all have a responsibility to this planet, right? And I think it's about time that we all take it really seriously. And I know a lot of people do, but we can all improve on it, all of us. And I think that's something which I think we all have to. So amazing to hear that. It's amazing to hear that you guys are doing that. So
we're really excited actually. But so, and then with the soap as well, because we thought that we can't bring out a eco-friendly product and then not have an eco-friendly business. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like hypocritical.
Yeah.
So we're like, so it gives us another opportunity to look at the business and see how we can make less of an impact. So that's really excited. So our soap is we're launching our soap next month.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's a sea salt and pine natural shampoo bar, and all the packaging's recycled and biodegradable.
Oh, sweet. Amazing.
So looking forward to getting that out there and sort of getting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
It's not easy to get to that point of having a product ready to go either, right? It takes some
that's taken a while. Yeah,
you have to dig and make that work as well, right? That's not easy. So
no, it's taken a while, but we're happy that it's almost out.
Yeah, good for you. Good. And I've got a question about kind of how do you ensure that with all of these different things that you want to achieve as well. So you've got all of these new kind of things to aim for, as well as dealing with the current situation and spinning all of the plates you have to spin already. How do you ensure that you stay on track towards your goals?
I think just sort of breaking it down. I think accountability is a big one.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a circle of accountability at OS, like we all hold each other accountable.
Okay.
You know, and I think like having clear job roles is something that is really beneficial.
Yeah.
And yeah, just having goals and deadlines and breaking it down. And I think if you break it down, it becomes a little bit easier to manage rather than looking like a list of like 50 things to do. You're like, well, where do I even start? You know. So
it's like an objective driven approach to your work, isn't it? Like you kind of take these steps towards the bigger goal, it sounds like.
That's it, yeah. And I think when you break it down, it becomes easier to achieve because you're doing one thing at a time rather than a long list of things. Yeah,
definitely. And I think I love that about kind of holding each other to account. I think that's super important in a business, and that kind of definition of this is your responsibility, so you make that happen, but we're here for you if you need us, and kind of that kind of support and accountability counterbalance, I think is vital in any business.
Yeah, because I think like when you're in a team, you obviously don't want to let your teammates down, and that helps as well. It's like that bit of motivation to keep going.
Because as an owner, and I'm like, I get this, and I have to have people hold me to account every single day, every day, to ensure that stuff gets done. Because as an owner, you can find reasons to focus on something else because you can get away with it, right? And I'm like, I love that kind of freedom. But I'm like, I need someone to crack the whip and say, well, yeah, that's great, Steve, but where's X, Y, and Z? Because we need it yesterday, And I think that kind of team ethic is very important, I think.
I think so. I think like sort of outlining that from the beginning is really important because it's nothing personal. If you haven't done what you're meant to be doing, then there has to be consequences, right? Like otherwise you just don't do it. So
yeah, I agree.
So it works well actually.
And for you personally, what motivates you to achieve what you've achieved already and what you want to achieve in the future?
I think personally, just being able to contribute to something bigger than me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'm asking, I guess, what's your why, aren't I? I think that's what I'm
asking. I think that's it. I mean, like, especially with OS, like, we're really focused on sort of building a lifestyle brand. Yeah. And, where we have the hair and we have like the sustainability, we have the products. And then I think for me, like exploring that space is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And, if we're able to sort of change people's lives for the better, then that's kind of good enough for me to stay motivated.
Yeah.
And that's, within the team and externally as well, like our customers and I think like that's definitely enough to get me out of bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Well, look, Joe, I've really loved speaking to you today, and I really love what you've achieved with your brand, and I'm really excited to see what you achieve in the future as well. And if there's anything we can do to kind of help or support, then you know where we are. All right. And I hope to get to speak to you again like this another day, because it's been great to kind of learn a bit more. And I feel like I've got about a million questions I could ask you, but I'm also conscious that you've probably got a to-do list as long as your arm to work through as well, including having a shower maybe. So
I've got to have a shower. That's a big one.
I want to make sure you can tick off some of your boxes today. So Joe, look, thanks for taking the time. It's been great speaking to you, mate. And like I said, if there's anything we can do in the future to help you, then reach out, because I think we all have to, moving forward, ensure that we support each other as much as we possibly can, right?
Great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.